Hello and welcome to Dancing with the Bards. It seems this month Ian has fallen through a portal to an alternate history 1920s. The only way to get him out is to release him from Tesla's factory. That's right, folks. Today we're playing Scythe. Scythe is an alternate history worker placement game designed by Jamie Stegmaier and published by Stonemaier Games in 2016. In it, players are tasked with building up forces, producing supplies, and gaining territory, all for a chance to be the most successful nation in Europe after World War I, while trying to get into Tesla's factory to achieve powers untold. And rescue Ian, I suppose. So, Bards, how well do you think this game handled storytelling?
Pretty good. I felt like I was in 1920s alternate history Central Europe.
Well, yeah, with the event cards and whatnot, I actually really like that little touch where you can kind of be who you wanted to be.
I will say the bad choices were always very bad.
Heinous options.
Yeah, in the event cards, they were... What was one of them? One of the event cards I had was like, there's some kids playing war games. Do you tip them and tell them they're doing a good job, or do you cut down their tree and ruin their innocence?
Yeah. And symbolize the end of innocence.
Yes.
I know one of Will's at one point was like, get blackout drunk and rob the town.
Yeah, it's on the total ends of the spectrum of like, do something kind of nice, okay, and then it's do something that's pretty heinous. And I'm
just on to what Larry was saying. The country I played as allowed me to pick two options for that. So not only did I buy them all of the alcohol and spend the money, I then immediately drank all of it.
And robbed them blind.
Yeah.
Return on investments.
Exactly. You're a true politician.
All right, so kicking off with number of players, I gave it a 3 out of 3. This can go anywhere from 1 to 7 with an appropriate expansion, 5 right out the box.
Now, I gave it a 2, but I did want some clarification. Do you need to have a second copy of the game in order to play the 9-player version of it?
No, the other half of the board actually comes with Nations Afar, which is the other 2 factions.
Okay, all right. So in order to play with 9 people, you need the expansion.
Yeah, well, you need 2 different expansions. To play 7 players, you just need the race expansion.
Okay, all right.
We'll get into that when we get to expansions.
Fair enough. I'm going to leave it as a 2 because for all intended purposes, it caps out at 5 base game.
Yeah.
I gave it a 1.5 just because, as you brought up, they do have an element of creating alliances, and those alliances you can only have one of them. So if you do any kind of an odd number player, someone's left out in the lurch, which depending on who you're playing with is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it felt like they didn't account for that.
See, I feel like they did because it's very much like it adds a little bit more depth to the alliances. If someone's already leading, you might not want to ally with them and give them more of a benefit. I think it sits well with 1 players, 2 players, 4. 3 is my only issue. 3 is the only number of players I would not play this game with. 5 and having 1 person be the odd man out is fine when there's 2 other teams. But if it's 1 team and an odd man out, either that odd man out is going to dominate because the other 2 people are trying to help each other and not paying attention to their own game, or the other 2 are going to just completely destroy that 3rd player.
I will say on the topic of alliances too, I do feel like it's not necessary or really even beneficial in certain cases. I know the main reason you alliance with me was not for my country's buff, but because it gave you extra money in the moment.
Well, yeah, because that was my secret objective.
That's also kind of true to history too. Not every alliance is altruistic in nature.
Yeah, some are in it for the money.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3. I mean, it felt like a good social game, in my opinion, where it's something you kind of play in the background while you're talking with your friends, catching up with them,
And I definitely want to touch more on that topic in rate of play because I completely agree. This is a very good social game. For how complicated it is, it still allows a lot of time to just kind of talk and chat with people at the table and really enjoy yourself. Alrighty, so inclusivity?
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 2. The pieces are nice and big. The colors are very defined. it's just it's there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to get it off the ground for the first time, which also ties into complexity later on. But for that, I did rate it only a 2.
I thought it was a very inclusive game, and it did a very good job at doing what it's supposed to. I think really just because of how many things are going on though, and how many different sort of turn paths you have each turn, it can get a little complicated. It can get a little confusing, and it may be difficult if you struggle with reading comprehension or if you're colorblind. I definitely had a couple of moments where I was assuming that Nelson would be making money because I'm looking across the table at his glossy thing, and I can't see the color very well. I just see the coin symbols, which turned out to not be coin symbols; they were the trade symbol. But this is more of a will problem and less of a problem with the game in general.
And it was just a colorblind issue with you. It's valid. I gave the game a 2 because while yes, the pieces are very big, easy to see, it's so many things to keep track of at first, and it can come off a little daunting at first, especially with okay, I can't do my with the exception of one faction you're playing as, you have to do a different action each turn. You cannot repeat the same ones over and over again.
Which, I mean, is kind of fair. If I was allowed to do production every single turn, I feel like the game would be over already.
Well, you would have bankrupted yourself at a certain point.
Unless you just don't make meeples and you just get...
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You stick with 2 things ever.
Fair.
New strat I want to try.
But, even still, I down the production route, as long as I had the oil to upgrade at the end of my production turn, I would come out 1 gold richer at the end of that turn. So I was never actually bankrupting myself, and I can get the popularity and I can get the war support through you guys just doing your turns.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a comprehension and less of an inclusivity issue.
I gave it a 2.5 for this, and I'm going to make a stance. I'm not giving 3s anymore unless you have a cheat sheet involved, because how much easier it would have been for things like Will saying where the symbols, they are very well labeled. Everything on the board has symbols. It's going to tell you exactly what happens. And once you get used to those symbols, they're great reminders. But having a little card next to you explaining what each one meant would definitely be helpful.
It's actually funny you mentioned cheat sheets because every game that they've made after this has had a cheat sheet.
They're important.
Yeah, I would agree with Brooke with a 2. I gave it a 2 as well because it's a little daunting at first.
It is a very scary game to bring to the table the first time.
But it's so fun. I want it to be fun for everyone.
But and knowing what I wanted to do for each turn and how everything worked, it was a bit of a task for the first 30 minutes of trying to figure out what to do, what's what, and how to go about taking your turn.
Yeah, and that does actually lead us straight into comprehension. I gave it a 2. Even as someone who's played this a ton of times, because I'm never going to forget my first time playing this game at Denny's. We started at 10:30, and the person who brought it was like, it's a quick 1-2 hour game, and we left at 3:45 a.m. And that wasn't due to Denny's excellent table service. That was due to the fact that we all looked at the board and were like, well, what the hell do we do? What do you mean I can only do this once? There's nothing telling me I can't do this once.
I will say, and this might just be down to your skills at teaching the game. When you had pitched this to me, and even when we were in the planning stages for playing the game, you had told me this was going to be like a 4 to 5 hour game with teaching people, and it was going to be very, very slow.
Well, I was taking into account my previous experience.
Fair enough, but we had an hour or 2 break where we ate dinner. And we still got done before the time we had figured we'd end by.
I think we took maybe about 4 hours with the break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that is about a 2.5 to 3 hour playtime, I'd say.
Yeah.
It also depended on the people that you're playing with it depends on how fast your players can pick up the game.
And how long they take to strategize.
Yes, this is very true too.
Shout out to our phantom friend. You know who you are.
We know. Boy, do we know. So I gave it a 3 for comprehension. I thought it was very easy to pick up once you knew what everything was. I do like Brooke's idea, though, and for future reviews, may take that into account, because it would have been a lot easier to have a cheat sheet.
My only hill I die on.
My only concern with adding a cheat sheet specifically for this game is everyone's turn path is set up similarly, but it's a little different.
Oh, I just want them to tell me what the tokens mean. I just want a little key.
You're gonna love Tapestry. The cheat sheet's
I know
like
I am.
this big.
I'm
insane.
a sucker for a cheat sheet. I've almost made one for a game that we did. I can't remember what game it was, but we almost made a cheat sheet for it.
The problem with Tapestry is the cheat sheet does need to be, if you
That's
can't
fine.
see, I'm putting my fingers out about 10 inches apart. It's a massive cheat sheet, the size of the rule book.
Yeah, but then it's
It's not big text.
I'm also a proponent of like having multiple copies of the rule book in a box so that we're not constantly fumbling over each other.
Fair. That's why you play games with me, who loses the rule book.
Yeah, that was.
I was actually
I
curious.
had a small panic attack when you're like, "Oh, it's not in this box." I'm like, "Ha!"
I think my favorite part about that, where I was like, "What the hell does that symbol mean?"
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, where was the rule book for that?
In the campaign expansion box.
Not with us.
Yeah.
That would have actually helped.
Well, no, I had 95% of the rules memorized. I just forgot what the build icon was. I literally talked about what buildings are and how you do them. And then I looked at the build icon and I was like, what the hell does that symbol mean?
You get one little house.
I was like, you use wood to build buildings. And then there's the symbols like 3 wood gets you a building. And I'm like, what is that?
So, for availability, I gave it a 3. As Larry was telling me, you can buy this off of Amazon, or you can go to your local game store, or wherever, maybe whatever place you can go to get your tabletop board games.
Target, baby.
That is my gold standard. If you can find it at Target, you can find it anywhere.
I am actually very impressed with Target's selection lately.
They do have the best
They've
one.
stepped it up.
Yeah.
This is not a paid sponsor.
Oh God, you can if you want to.
Yeah, Target,
Love to
please.
go shopping.
Target, if you sponsor us, I
Just-
will.
Pay me in Starbucks gift cards.
Don't pay him in Starbucks.
Just me.
Pay-
Just me.
Pay us in money. Cash,
Nah,
please.
Starbies. I gotta get my chai.
You did hook us up with the Starbies today.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 3 too. I've seen this before, even though I still every time you say Scythe, I think of a totally different game. But I've seen this box before.
It's because Scythe sounds like it should be some like death metal road trip band collection game, and instead it's just farmers after World War One.
Yeah, no, it's even worse. For some reason, my brain goes, this must be some futuristic robot stuff.
That too. Yeah. It could go either way. Futuristic death metal.
Yeah, I think like farmers of old Europe.
Well, that's what you got.
Yeah.
I also did give it a 3 for availability, though. There's a mobile version, there's a Steam version, there's physical versions when you go to a GameStar, there's physical versions when you go to buy your groceries at Target. It's everywhere, and it should be. It's a fantastic game.
What is a GameStar?
What? GameStar?
GameStar.
A GameStar?
Yeah.
It's where you go to get your games from.
Ah.
Yeah.
Good.
Does anyone else have a consenting or dissenting, I guess? Dissenting?
I consent to giving availability 3 stars.
I also consent.
Yeah.
So, 2 materials. I gave it a 3. These minis are fantastic. I don't really understand why every person has their own little animal companion. I'm not mad at it. But,
That's
like-
lore stuff.
Okay. Because there was no real function of our friends.
It looks cool.
It does, and they're very cool, and they'd be fun to paint, and the meeples are all different, which really helps after you get to know them. And they all look like what they're supposed to look like, which is nice.
And what's cool
Minus
too.
the eagle.
Yeah.
The eagle
You mean the
looks-
beetle?
The beetle, or what did I think it was? It looked like something else to me.
There's a thing for power or military support that's supposed to be like a coat of arms eagle, but it looks like a bug.
Yeah, it doesn't translate well down into what... I mean, to be fair, if they were going to make it true to the design, it would break apart no matter what they did, just because of the nature of wood. They'd have
Yeah.
to do it in
Fragile.
plastic otherwise. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't have worked. But at that point, just make it a different thing then. Like, change it up.
Or keep it as a beetle. Just say it's a beetle. War beetles.
I, for one, love the idea of war beetles.
Yes.
They're very resilient.
They are.
I did give this a 3 for materials, though, because it does have fantastic pieces. Even the airships, which are one of the expansions, look badass. That's the only way I can put them. They all look awesome, and each faction, down to their mechs, kind of has their own theme that I really like, too.
Yeah, the themes were really cool. They were all unique, but it's hard to describe. Everything looks like it should fit in that time period or is taken from some crazy contraption that had came out in that time period.
Exactly.
Your thing was based off of that French tank that they tried to make to go over the trenches that didn't work. My thing was essentially just like the cockpit of what country was it? It was one of those Polish bombers.
Yeah.
They were really, really cool.
Hers was like a original idea for a combine harvester.
Yeah, exactly.
And mine looked like submarines that could walk.
Yours, I looked at yours like as I was putting them away. They're little boats with legs.
Yeah, there's submarines that can walk.
Yeah, they're really cool.
I gave it a 3 as well. Taking a look at all the little pieces and tokens, they were well done. You know, they didn't feel fragile and didn't feel off, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they're chunky wood.
Yeah, and I really like the little details on the mechs when you actually get them, because when you put them down, they're pretty they feel like you're putting down an intimidating force onto the board.
Yeah. I will also mention that this has the same thing that pretty much all of Stonemeier's games has, where if you lose a piece or something, you can buy it from their website.
Ooh.
Which is just impressive. I love that they do that.
It does show that they want the longevity of their games. It sets a tone for their standard.
Yeah. Going on to setup, I gave it a 3 for setup, just specifically because everything on the board has a place. It is a lot. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I should have knocked a point for that. But just the fact that everything has indented boards. Please, developers, indent your boards. They're already thick cardboard. Just take a box cutter to it. That's all you got to do.
Well, actually,
Yeah, they're double laminated.
Yeah. There are 2 pieces of cardboard, one being cut out.
Yes.
The sentiment stays. It does add a lot to it. I took that point off for you, though. So.
Okay.
Don't worry, I did too, Brooke.
I gave it a 2 as well. Don't get me wrong. You did a great job setting it up and everything, but setting it up, it's for a person who's never played it, seems pretty daunting, you know?
Fair.
I just know my friends are going to lose the meeples. It's almost as bad as in Wingspan when I knew for sure someone was going to eat one of those tiny wooden eggs.
They look so delicious.
I'm not saying they don't. Similar concerns.
The Stonemaier has a habit of making wooden pieces that look edible.
Or, yeah.
Like
they really
the
do.
beetle. I would eat the beetle.
I would too. I'm not ashamed to say it. Larry. I ate your beetle last night.
Thank you.
Ooh. Okay, moving on.
Censored. I am just going to defend my 3 really quick. Just because I do play a lot of large-scale games, and this is probably by far the easiest to set up, next to maybe Eclipse. Eclipse is also a very quick, easy, because you know what? They have board indents.
See, I have cheat sheets and you have board indents for your
Yes.
hill to die on.
Yes. Rate of play. I gave it a 2 overall, just because it is very easy to kind of lose track and get lost in conversation, because turns happen so fast.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, though. I gave it a 3 for a very similar reason. It felt like we could hold a conversation, and I really, like you had said, I really only had to focus on what I was going to do on my turn. It wasn't until like the last 5 or 6 turns that I was focusing on what everyone else was doing all the time.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2 for rate of play. Granted, these types of board games are usually not my cup of tea. But for someone this is the first time playing, an engine builder, I had fun with you guys. I was able to, talk with you guys, play, but I found myself at some points just like a little spacing out, or if not, on my sketchbook.
Yeah,
sketching
just
while-
disconnecting a little bit.
Yeah.
That's where I was getting to, which is why I gave it a 2. And I think it really just comes down to how quick things move.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3, but I will say the thing with like forgetting where people are, I would love if we made some version of the talking stick that you could pass off to the next person.
Yeah.
Like that would make it so much easier to make sure that you're keeping up, because that did happen a couple times. I didn't necessarily see it as a negative because it didn't happen that often in our game.
Yeah.
But like if you had, I don't know, maybe a treaty of war that you passed around or something.
Yeah, like a player
A
count.
scythe.
Yeah.
Give us a scythe.
Yeah.
I might do that for Halloween. I might gift you a scythe.
Thank you.
Although some people would lose their fingers with that.
No, they made them in the plastic
They
fake ones.
should have angered Larry.
Work's going to be a lot more fun.
The means of production.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Larry. Time for me to seize the means of production.
Correct. I feel the price though is very justified for what you get. You get a whole lot of game for $60.
I could not agree more. For $60 and another piece of clarification. It's $30 per expansion. You get 1 or 2 per expansion usually.
What do you mean?
Extra nations.
So the expansion that expands and adds nations, you get 2,
Okay.
and that's $30. And then the expansion that adds airships, you get airships for everyone, including the 2 bonus nations, by the way. So you get their airships just in case you didn't buy that already. And for clarifying, airships add a ton of stuff. It's a new model that goes onto the board that you can carry goods on, that you can use to deploy meeples in like different spots. You can airdrop them.
That would have come in handy for my.
It's
Yeah.
a really cool
Animation.
expansion for $30. You get big hunky pieces of plastic that also add a whole new layer of depth to the game.
Can I give this a 4th star? That is impressive.
For the price, I gave it a 2. I mean, for all the stuff that you get, it's great. But also at the same time, for someone who doesn't really play these, it's a bit of a hefty price. And if it's something that I might not enjoy, or find people to play with, it's just another game that would just collect dust in my,
Yeah, I do get that. I do have like a throwaway budget each month of like $20 for a game I will get and it will stay in my trunk and I will never play it.
I gave it a 2. I'm changing it to a 3 because I'm looking at it just from the standpoint of the minis right now and what those would cost if you would try and find a mini with that kind of detail outside of
Yeah.
this game. And like as someone who has bought a game expansion for a game I don't own strictly for the mini for $30, it was a time. I was like Villains or something. I don't have any idea about.
The Disney one?
No, this was a whole like it was all. I'll have to look into it at some point. I needed a really good Wendigo figure for a D&D that I was doing that COVID killed.
Yeah. Good.
And I spent $32 on one mini because it was the quintessential Wendigo. So
That hurts.
it's so cool. I've even put like single sequins into the eye holes so that
Ooh.
it shined red if you hit the light right. Oh.
That's pretty
Either way, for the minis alone, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot express enough how high quality these minis are and how detailed they are.
Yeah, they're impressive.
Every one of them has the individual rivets on them.
Yeah.
What's not Stitch, the one Stuffed Fables. It reminded me of the quality of the Stuffed Fables one, which was also out of this world.
Yeah. You don't see that anymore. Or really ever.
Well, you do with Stonemaier.
With Stonemaier,
Yeah.
Fair.
It's what they care about. Like I
Yeah.
said, they're showing a standard and they're really setting the bar high.
Love to see it.
For extras, I gave it a 3 with everything that Larry's been talking about previously, with the expansions as well as some of those expansions actually changing up the gameplay. Because, like, for example, the nation I went with I was kind of island stuck for a good while. Had we gotten those airships, that would have helped progress my turns much better
even still though, I not trying to diminish what you're saying at all. Everybody except for I actually I don't even think they played. One nation is connected contiguously to the
Japan is. Yeah.
It's well, two nations. It's Japan, and then it's the other one, like Finland, the boar-shaped one.
Yeah.
Everybody else starts with a 3-tile space separated by water.
And that's because you really only play those in 7-player games, and they need that extra boost because if you're playing with 7 players, they're gonna need to get out earlier.
Well, exactly, and that makes sense. When you're in a large game like that, I can see how you want to prevent people from immediately rushing the board. That was like the thing that kind of kept me held back for so long was the fact that I couldn't directly expand. If I had made the decision to do a mine first instead of go rushing a mech, just through sheer luck of getting a card that let me get 4 iron to start, I would have been struggling for the entire rest of the game.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3 for one reason. My Little Scythe.
Yes,
I just love the idea of having a game not necessarily dumbed down, but it brought to a level where everyone can enjoy it.
Yeah. And just to touch on My Little Scythe, because there's 2 things I want to touch on. I gave it a 3 for extras. My Little Scythe is great because what it does is it takes all of the mechanics of the game, but it makes them more kid-friendly. As opposed to going to war, you throw pies at each other. As opposed to harvesting crops to feed your people, you guys are just making pies. But it's all of the same mechanics of Scythe, where you have to, go to this space to do this thing, but you can't harvest twice in a row. And then if you wanted to attack somebody, you have to be in that space. It takes everything that the game does and just makes it a little bit more of a smoother experience and a little more child-friendly. The other thing I want to touch on is the campaign expansion, which, once again, huge shout out for making a campaign expansion that, for one, all of the stuff can be brought into the base game if you would like. The 2 factions it comes with, they come with their own tokens that you would put over the nation tiles that are already there. So it's now their nation. And it comes with its own leader and all of that. And also a fully resettable, nothing gets put onto the board that's permanent legacy campaign. That is awesome. Because legacy games, the big problem that ends up happening with them is if you go to replay them with a different group afterwards, those people feel like their decisions would have been entirely different because you're playing with a different group now. So having a fully resettable legacy campaign as an expansion is a fantastic idea. It's 8 games long, and they're, instead of upgrading things on the board, the things that get upgraded are mechs. So your mechs gain new abilities. And then there's certain bonuses that happen depending on if there was a lot of combat that game or if there was a lot of treaties made that game. And that will determine what the next game starts with.
That's actually very interesting. We should maybe shoot to try and do a legacy campaign one of these days.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, because I have all the stuff. It's fully resettable.
Yeah.
Circling back to the kids, My Little Scythe.
Yes.
This is something that I say at every car show because that's where I also am all the times at the car shows. If you don't get kids or you don't get anyone into the hobby young, they won't do it when they're older. So, like, especially with things where you're paying 60, 80, 120 bucks for a board game, they're not even going to think that's possible unless you get them in early and you get them understanding these things early.
Yeah.
Like, I came late to this hobby, and it was only by sheer force of will from the friend group that I am here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're even getting you to play bigger and scarier things now.
Yeah, this is it's fun but terrifying.
I still feel like Eclipse is more of a learning curve than this. As much as I loved Eclipse.
I did too.
Eclipse was definitely more complicated than this.
Oh yeah.
By far.
Much margins more complicated.
Excuse me.
Moving on to personal enjoyment. Out of 3, I gave it a 3. No, like I said, I don't really play these kinds of games normally. But being able to play with friends and just I didn't see it more as I'm going to play this game. I'm going to play, talk, hang out with friends enjoy myself and still enjoy the game. And due to it being kind of easy to pick, after some time of being able to comprehend it well, after some time, I actually enjoyed it. Normally, and like I said, normally this is not really my cup of tea.
I gave it a 3 for personal enjoyment. I absolutely love this game. It's one of my favorite worker placements. It's not my all-time favorite. I actually don't own my all-time favorite because I can't find it anywhere. But this is up there for me in terms of like a worker placement games, in terms of something I can socialize and play at the same time. It's a good time.
Yeah, I gave it a solid 3 as well. I a lot of the times when we cover these games, partway through it starts to feel like a chore that I'm learning this new system and I'm never really gonna play it again. And this was one of those games where we were able to sit and have like a real conversation and not like kind of side chats in between people's turns. Like we were able to continue conversations through turns because turns are very quick and very simple for the most part. Yeah, solid 3.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3 as well.
Look at that, a unanimous 3.
Woo.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the second one that we had a unanimous 3 on.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't Carcassonne.
So, recommendations. Who would you recommend this to?
I would personally recommend this to most people as a good entry level worker placement game. If it's something that you'd want to try, but you're afraid that like something like that's out of your wheelhouse, I would probably start here. It's very much an on rails experience. It's not one of those games that a big problem that I have with a lot of worker placement games is it's very easy to completely screw yourself out of any chance of winning whatsoever. This game doesn't really let you do that. There's restrictions in place where like, you can't go to negative military support. You can't go to negative popularity. If you run out of money, you can still gain money. It's very much it's a little more handholdy. So I gave it a 2 because it's not for everyone, but it's for people who want to try that genre.
I also gave it a 2 for very similar reasons. It feels like it's something that would be very hard to fall completely out of the running entirely. You can definitely fall behind. And I would even recommend this going further than what you said, not just to people who want to get into the worker placement, but people who are maybe just curious about like more complex tabletops in general. You're looking like you have something to say.
Oh no, I mean I do, but I feel bad that I have to give this a 1. But outside of our friend group, I would be hard pressed to suggest this to someone. Like our friend group's very different. The fact they'd be all over this, but if I was like with my buddies at the bar, I could not get them to do this. I could get them to play Wingspan. I could get them to play plenty of other games. This one would be a hard press.
If you can get them to play Risk, you can get them to play this.
I mean, if you can get them to
I
play
don't think I
Wingspan,
get them to play Risk. The only reason I get them to play Wingspan is because I drink up with like farmer boys, so they like birds.
I mean, this is farming.
You're right. This is farming. You just got to pitch it to them the right way.
Fair.
You got to farm in the
I
fields
feel
of
like
Europe.
I feel like Wingspan is the step below for worker placements that this is. If you liked Wingspan, this is putting your foot further into the door of that.
Yeah, I think the theming is very different, though.
Oh
That's
yeah,
more of
most
I think
definitely.
I can get them more behind the theming of Wingspan and like what it entails than this one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that's a huge hurdle, is trying to get someone to like the subject to play the game. And it might be kind of hard pressed to do alternate. If I just walked up and was like, let's play an alternate history with Soviet Russia and Poland. Like I think most people would go like, that sounds like a little bit of a fishy territory.
Did you know they were friends? It's definitely alternate history.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I feel like it'd be a hard sell unless you were already part of the board gaming community.
Fair enough. See, I usually don't try to sell games on theme just because that can lead to horrible situations. Like, I'll say what my favorite worker placement game is, and if I tell Will the theme, he's gonna be like, "Hell yeah!" And then I'm gonna show Will a picture, and he's gonna be like, "I'm never gonna touch that." It's called Feast for Odin, and it's all about
Oh yeah,
getting a Viking civilization built up and functioning. And when I say this game is massive, I mean the box is about 1.5 feet thick.
Yep.
And there's about 19 different boards that have to come to the table in order to play it. It's insane, but I love it.
I know exactly what you have shown this to me before. Yeah. It is probably the closest I will ever get to playing Campaign for North Africa.
Oh yeah, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet made fun, is what it looks like. There's so much.
Just the game for me. I love boring.
I have a picture actually that I've showed you the
now
picture.
I would like you to hold the picture up to the mic so the viewers at home can see.
Yes, that would be great. Well, no, mainly just to get
we can
everyone else's reactions.
Mastodon or something, right?
Probably.
I mean, we'll embed it in an
or
audio
Facebook.
file.
No, it's also we can always throw it up.
Oh yeah, we can throw it on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, there's my Dragon's Dogma character. Let's not show people that. You've seen Thrungus.
Oh my God.
While this is happening, we do have a Facebook as well, so that's another easy way to get in touch with us. We have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Dancing with the Bards.
I don't know the password to a Facebook. Can you send my son over to unlock it for me?
So going back on topic, replay value. I gave it a 2.
Okay.
No, like I said, normally I don't really play these kinds of games, but a couple of friends are like, "Hey, let's play this." I'll probably say, "Sure, why not?" And I can see this being a lot of potential for replayability, as you can try out different nations, try out different strategies, and just see and try out different things for this game.
There we go.
Okay, that is a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. For
Nelson, that is.
So I gave it a 2 for replay value, because I would have given it a 3, but there's there's a finite number of combinations to it, but they do have 2 different boards which you get randomly given. Which does add enough randomization where it'll take a while before you see the same thing twice, which I like.
You get 2 different boards?
You get your faction and then your territory options.
Oh, yeah. They don't?
No. So
no, those aren't the same.
We pick those both at random, which does help give a little bit of variety with it. You will eventually hit the same things over and over again, but it will take you a while.
I feel so dumb. I was like, this is like a great combo for my country.
Yeah, you got lucky.
Yeah, I know. Okay, that makes so much sense. I mean, it's obvious because I picked it random for both of them. You reached into my mind, Larry, and knew which one I was gonna pick.
We hadn't had dinner yet. We were all hungry.
Yeah. I gave it a 3 for replay value just because of how quick this can go with an experienced group. It's a very in-depth game that you can probably knock out in about 2 hours. And on top of that, there's a lot of different strategies you can go. I've won games in this without ever touching Max.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had the Norse and I just sent all my workers overseas and just minded my own business. And nobody wanted to attack me because they're going to lose popularity for it.
Yeah. Honestly, that would be a very good strategy if you're playing against a super metagamey group of people.
Yeah.
Like our friends.
Yeah. Like our dear friend who we'll have on here at one point. He almost actually was going to be the 5th for this.
I know, but then
he didn't get out until 9:30.
Yeah. So. Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about our other friend.
Oh no, Mr. Tazzoli would love to come by.
I would love to have Mr. Tazzoli on. He should have been on this one, but we'll take Nelson anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I like playing with Nelson. It's good to get him to try different things.
He lives with me, and I never get to play games with him.
Yeah.
It's only online stuff. You and your computer Game Boys playing the video games.
All right, Pop. Let's see. Where do you...
Sliding scales, your favorite thing, which will be changing soon.
I know.
Woo!
Grid coordinates, baby!
You gotta figure that out still.
I'm influential.
It's not that you're influential, it's just the second person saying it now. when I say something, it's dumb.
It's more just I actually have time now. You said this in the middle of the year, and I'm like, I can barely do my job and survive. I can't worry about remaking this.
Yeah.
Now I have some time. I can do that.
Fair.
All right, so I gave it a 2 for innovative, just because once again I hate doing this, but from a person who's played like all sorts of worker placement games, it does a lot of fun little different things that you don't really see. For one, player interaction is a thing in this, and in most worker placements, it's not. There's no reason to ever interact with somebody because you're just working on your own little board. The most you'll get is somebody might get like a card, and you're like, oh man, I wanted that. But like this, you can actually cripple people's entire plan. And that's cool and fun, and we all get along when we play stuff. Nobody would ever dive bomb into the factory and hope for the best, because that would be stupid.
I gave it a 2 as well. You covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.
I did as well.
Looks like you gave it a 2 in classic. Though.
No, I should have given it a bit.
Oh, my bad.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The way you said it was exactly what I was saying for classic, and I was like, I misdid that one.
I went the wrong way.
It's okay. I'm dyslexic. Left and right is hard for me anyway. Left
Driving
and right scales.
onto the off ramp.
Exactly.
Every day. That's why I'm always late to work. I gotta go all the way down and then back.
Oh god, there's a lot of traffic this morning. It's so backed up, people are turning around.
Yep.
Nelson, where'd you land on the scale?
Innovative on 2. It's, I wouldn't say classic, where it's, your stereotypical. Granted, I also don't really play these, so I don't know what I'm getting into with these.
It's not your father's worker placement. That's my favorite phrase, by the way, is just putting not your father's in front of something. It's so stupid. We as a society need to stop doing that.
What if I wanted something that was like what my father did?
Well, then you can't listen to the radio anymore. Because everything is like not your father's whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not your father's rock and roll. Followed by like
Gunshot,
50,000.
dog barking,
Yeah.
cauldron boiling, car explosion.
Fucking crystal ball swing.
Anyways, here's Imagine Dragons.
Such a dumb joke.
So on the simple and complex scale, I gave it a 2 for complex. It wasn't necessarily hard, really hard to understand or anything, or to keep track of your pieces. But at first, it can be a bit daunting with what pieces do what goes where.
Yeah,
I did the same thing. It did bog down because of the complexity without having the cheat sheet.
we know.
But I agree 100%.
Wait until we play Tapestry, then you're like, there's too much stuff on this cheat sheet.
Yeah, then because of manual. If they call it a cheat sheet, we're going to have an issue.
I too gave it a 2 in complex, just because I can understand looking at this board for the first time, as I did, and I'm like, this is going to be a year of my life.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3 in complex. Good complex. It was good. It was challenging without it being just too much. I liked it. I thought that it, while a little daunting at first, it's the kind of daunting you want in a game. It keeps you mentally invested for just long enough to learn everything that you need to know, and then you're good. Then you're golden.
Anyone have any final comments, concerns, or queries?
No. All I just want to say is that I'd be looking forward to doing more of Stonemeier's stuff going forward.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to get my hands on a copy of Apiary, just because it's Wingspan but bees in space.
So the other thing, which you didn't get to be part of, because we did, I think, 2 different Stellar Factories. Stellar Factory is another game company that we've liked, more for party games, though. Okay. So I'll have to bring a Stellar Factory in for you.
Oh, the Stellar Factory is the one that did the pin game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a scavenger, or a, how do you describe that?
It's tag.
Yeah, it's like tag, but with a physical pin, so your friend group can do it for long periods of time together. So you spin it, and it's like, it attaches to someone's shirt. Tie it onto something. Pin it onto something. So
leave it out where someone has to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like Twister, but with extra steps and tag, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
We did it for Pride last year.
We tried to.
We tried to, but everyone was too socially awkward.
Yeah.
The mixing of many friend groups didn't help.
No, maybe next time. Can I get everyone's totals though?
Yes. So I have a
Doing
37 for my total.
37?
I got 36 out of 42.
One second. 37 plus.
36.
Our total is 35 and a half points.
Okay.
Hey.
That's pretty good. It's on the higher end of our scale.
I think we've been scaling or scoring games a lot higher lately.
We've been really picky with the games we've chosen, though.
This is true.
So I think we need to go and just get some garbage games and have like a dumpster dive day.
Fair.
Oh, what I would love to do is just go into like a board game store and just pick the first thing that the box art catches my eye on.
Yeah, I think that's what we have to do because we've just
usually I've noticed the cooler a box looks, the shittier a game is.
Yeah, I think that's what we have to do because we've just been picking ones that we know or that we've heard of are good.
Yeah.
Where it's catered to our friends
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
going to be playing.
So I think we need to actively just get a new thing that no one has tried.
Actually one that I've seen that I wanted to pick up just because of how bad and stupid it sounds.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's reviewed very well. But I've played other stuff that is reviewed very well that has turned out to be complete trash. It's called Heat, and you are a race car driver playing against other race car drivers,
Okay.
and it looks really dumb. And they have really dumb expansions, such as like it's now raining. Like,
I mean, it's a very attractive thing with cars.
no, yeah, rain on a track with sports or slicks.
Plus, this is the only thing that stuck with me from driver's ed. The first 30 seconds of a rain is the most dangerous because it separates the dirt particles from the road.
Which that's not even true.
yeah, that's a lie.
It separates the rubber and oil that gets left on the road.
Yeah.
It gets lifted up. It's not the dirt. The dirt's what gives you traction.
The gross, the gunk.
Yeah, no, the driver's ed is all fear propaganda.
It is. You don't even need a license.
We have derailed.
Yeah, I know. Ian, please cut that last bit. I would like to keep my license.
Editor's note, I will not.
You're going to have to do more than that, buddy.
Thank you so much, Larry, for hosting your first full episode. Woo! Spreading the work equally for once. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have Camping with the Bards coming up. We did that last year. It's going to be mostly on Twitch. You're going to need to be part of our Discord if you want to be involved in it. Last year we did things like mini painting, one-offs, like one night
Game nights.
Yeah, game nights. I hosted a couple like interactive ones. We did trains.
Yes, so we are
Rail
trying
up?
to do more interactive games
Yeah.
this year as well. So definitely join us in the Discord for that.
If you want to know more, you can always reach out to us on X or on Mastodon at dancingwiththebars@crater.gg, or you can reach out to us on Gmail at dancingwiththebars. I almost said camping. I'm just excited to camp. dancingwiththebars@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening so much, and thank you, Nelson, for coming on for another episode. And we'll see you next month.
Did anyone grab Ian out of the factory, by the way?
No, we're leaving him there.
Yeah, no, he's
No, he
staying
must
there
cease
until the
production.
next episode.
He's fine.
Let him cease production.
Tune in next time. He may get out.
Editor's note, I will not.